I am Tina Colaiko, Professor of Art and Design History at the University of the Philippines College of Fine Arts, and concurrently, the President of a Metropolitan Museum of Manila. In today's episode of Cultural Cash Online, I will be talking about a work by visual artist Pacita Abad titled Two Orphans, Refugees of Cambodia, in the Cultural Center of the Philippines 21st Century Art Museum collection. Pacita Abad was born in 1946 in the northernmost part of the country in the province of Batanes. She is mostly alluded to as an international artist, having lived in 6 different continents and worked and traveled in different countries outside of the Philippines, like in Singapore, India, Guatemala, Sudan, Indonesia, and Cambodia, to name a few. She created art and absorbed so much of the history and the culture of every place that she lived in. Pacita was a vivacious person, so full of life. Just like her persona, her trapunto paintings all burst with colors and vibrancy. Her boundless energy explained her prolific production of more than 5,000 works in her 32-year career. She exhibited her work in over 200 museums, galleries, and other venues, including 75 solo shows around the world. My memory of meeting Pacita takes me to Singapore a year or so before she painted the Alcaf Bridge while undergoing radiotherapy. She was determined to finish painting the bridge in her own inimitable style of bright yellows, greens, blues, and red, with her circles and lollipop swirls all over. In September of 2004, I was also privileged to have worked with her as one of the organizers of her last solo exhibition held at the Cultural Center of the Philippines, titled Circles in My Mind. The exhibit showed 70 works of paper abstractions, assemblages, monoprints, and large-scale prints. In October of the same year, while the show was ongoing, and in spite of her illness at that time, she also managed to give a workshop at the UP College of Fine Arts. A month or so after, Pacita passed away at the age of 58. Up to the time of her death, she never seemed to give up doing art and sharing her art with others. Today, almost 20 years after her death, she continues to be celebrated. Recognizing Pacita Abad as a global artist finds its connection and meaning in her early series of works. She painted Two Orphans during the time she and her husband Jack Garrity were living in Thailand in 1979. Pacita originally intended to paint the scenery and the everyday life of people in the Thai villages they visited, but the Cambodian-Vietnamese War had begun in 1978 and the Vietnamese had occupied Cambodia. Scenes of fleeing refugees crossing the borders to Thailand to escape destruction and killings were a real occurrence that she witnessed. According to Jack Garrity in a monograph on the Cambodian painting series, Pacita found herself getting involved. She visited and volunteered to assist organizations that would help in refugee camps and holding centers. More than that, Pacita the artist took to painting the pained faces and the desperate plight of the refugees. In 1981, Pacita opened a solo exhibition entitled Portraits of Cambodia at the Boston University Art Gallery in the US. The exhibition consisted of 30 paintings done in 1979 and 1980. Two Orphans were one of the paintings in the exhibit. All works were done in oil on canvas. All were almost of the same size except for the monumental piece entitled Flight to Freedom. A published review of the exhibition by Richard M. Harley in the Christian Monitor in 1981 describes brush strokes in the paintings that must have been done fast and random to make the details inconsequential to the rendering of figures, the clothing, or scenery. In Two Orphans, Pacita captures a heart-wrenching scene of two children comforting each other. They seem cornered in their own small, listless space. The younger child is holding what may be a piece of object, which could be food, and the older sibling seems to be looking in the direction where she probably sees someone who could help them or be with them. She must have intended the painting to elicit a lot of emotion. The work mirrors the intensity of the suffering of displaced children in an expressionist manner. She seems to be more focused on the faces, the eyes wrought with fear of uncertainty of where they are and in their crouched embrace. There are subdued color patches outside of the figures and the canvas that are rendered in hatching strokes, captured with some immediacy, like the see-through, vague outline of a structure behind the blue shade. The patchwork of colors come in an uneven mix of transparency and opaqueness. Hurley also describes best what set apart the works of Pacita Abad, specifically in a work like Two Orphans, from all the journalistic photographs that filled the media at that time. It was a portrayal of humanity. It was Pacita bringing out the heart and soul of the portraits of Cambodia. In Pacita's own words, "After the media coverage of events end, my paintings keep staring at you." Thank you for joining me in this episode of Cultural Cash Online.